Hey everybody, Paul here from Better Chess. Now we are about to enter round 2 of the 2024 Washington Class Championships adult section. As you know, I won my first round, game 1, with the black pieces against the 2200, which is great. Now round 2, I am paired with a 1600. And as many of you know, whenever you are paired with a lower rated player, there's always concern, right? Are they really rated 1600? Are they actually much stronger? This is an adult, it's not a kid, but nevertheless, let's look at the game and we'll see how things progress. So I have the white pieces, and the game starts off, with traditional e4. He plays the Sicilian, I play the King's Indian attack, d3, and the game it's kind of goes into normal waters, right? Developing his knights, I develop, he fianchettos his bishop, and for 1600 to understand this is pretty good. This is all well-known theory. So he fianchettos, I fianchetto. E6 is a perfectly good move. He's going to try for d5. The only challenge, of course, is his light square bishop is a little weak in terms of its scope, but that might be resolved later on. So I can play c3 here or castle. I just decided castle. He plays knight g e7, again, just to really help the d5 break, right? So he has another piece on that square once he plays d5. So now I play c3, and my idea is I want to play d4, right? Liquidate my backward pawn and get more control of the center. So castles. And here I play a little strange move, and I should just play d4 right here, but for some reason and this is what happens in slow chess. You sometimes the more time you have, the more you start to think, and you think too much, right? So I said to myself, let's just play bishop e3 to prepare d4. And it's not wrong, but it's a little slow, right? It's a little questionable. So he plays d6. I mean, he could have played a move like b6 and then fianchettoed his bishop, but he plays d6. And now he has the option of e5, locking the center, which is something I have to think about here. So I think long and hard, and I play the move I wanted to play, which is d4, right? And this is the whole point. Really not much of an option here. He has to take. If he doesn't, I'm going to win a pawn. So he takes. This is all normal stuff. And he plays the right move here, which is d5. Committing the center, forcing me to either take or push the pawn. The right move here is to push. And the response here is a good one. He plays knight f5. And this is the reason why bishop e3 was a little weird, right? Because now my bishop is being attacked, and I'm about to lose the bishop pair if I'm not careful. Plus he has maybe queen b6 happening. So there's several things he has that I have to be cognizant of here. So I think a little bit, just knight c3 is probably a good move. But I was worried about him capturing and then playing, something like, if he played something like this, if I played, for example, knight c3, I was worried about knight takes e3, fe3. It's a weak pawn. Maybe he can play a move like bishop h6. Again, it's not the end of the world, but it's just uncomfortable, and I didn't really like that idea. So I play queen d2 just to protect it. Game is still equal, and we continue. He takes it right away, and I think long and hard here. The correct move is to take with the pawn, but I didn't do that. I played queen takes e3, and the reason why the pawn is the better move is it just creates more of central control. Yes, as I indicated, he has moves like this later on, but I also have an open f file I can use. So there's some advantages here that I have to think about that far outweigh the backward pawn I have on e3. So I play queen takes e3, and he starts with queen b6 now. He's hitting that weak pawn on b2, which is valid target. And again, this is 1600, so he's playing well. Think a little bit. I should probably just play knight c3 here and let the pawn go. There's actually a lot of problems with that. For him, rather. But so I play queen d2 to protect it. Just very quickly, if I play knight c3, let's say he takes. Look at this pressure I get. Rook a b1, queen a3. I have this move, takes, which is very hard to find. And yeah, it's just, he can't, if he takes it, his queen is hanging. And if he takes my queen, I take with the knight. So it will be an interesting move. I get the pawn back. It's kind of cute. See, takes, knight takes e3, and it's just equal. But anyway, so queen d2, again, just equal. And then he plays the interesting f6, trying to break up the center. This is a very reasonable move. And once again, I have to be careful. So I think about this for a while, looking at my options. And again, I'm just sort of worried that my pieces are looking kind of idle here, right? I mean, I'm not doing anything. And he seems to be more active. He's attacking the center. Yes, he doesn't have activity over here either with his pieces, but chess is about activity, getting your pieces in the game, and I'm a little puzzled by this. So I think about it for a while, and I take, which is the correct move. He takes back with the bishop. He's got 3 pieces on it, so only move, rook d1 to defend. And I felt all upset about this at the board, but sometimes in chess you just have to make defensive moves. Not everything is an attacking move. So now he starts developing his idle pieces. Bishop d7, which is, I think, correct. Now me too, knight c3. Rook a d8, perfectly good move. Maybe rook a e8 is a little more accurate, and the reason why is you probably want to be on this file, right? Because you want to, at some point, push this e-pawn. So I'm not sure that the rook is on the right file, but it's perfectly okay. Now I should have played just rook ac1, but I'm just a little restless here, and I'm a little frazzled. So I decided to play knight a4, which is another move, hitting the queen, maybe dropping into c5, which is reasonable, right? Seems like a good move. He plays the correct move, back to c7. Now he could play queen b5, but he plays back, and now I get a little bit of initiative here, right? So I have rook c1, rook ac1 to the file. He should probably play b6 to stop my knight from infiltrating, but he doesn't. He plays queen d6. So then I put my knight on c5. Now I'm a little better, no question. I have a little bit of an advantage. So he plays bishop to c8. Accurate move, defending the pawn, but his bishop is really in a bad way there. I think about this for a while. I'm not sure the right move to play here. Peter likes queen e3. I don't know why. I wish I could tell you why that move is so strong. And maybe it just defends the d pawn without putting the queen at risk. But instead I play the move a3. And the idea is I want to start just building up, some expansion on the queen side, right? And he plays a good move here. He plays bishop g7, which is, trying to get his bishop out of the way, maybe redeploy it to the h6 diagonal at a later time, but not now, but at some point. So now I play queen e3, and the reason is again, I understood the move as it was last time. If any piece takes this pawn, I don't want the queen directly in front of it. I want to be able to take with, the knight and the rook first, the queen last, and with the queen and on d3, that wasn't possible. So hence the reason. Okay, so he kicks the knight now. b6. Good move. Now, the right move here is actually knight to d3. I won't go into a lot of analysis here because I don't want to confuse people, but knight d3 looks like I'm hanging a pawn here, and I'm worried about sacrifices, like rook takes f3. Bishop takes f3, knight takes d4. And I'm still better, but it didn't feel that way. And anyway, I have to be very careful here. I have to play like bishop g4, and it gets very, very ugly if I'm not careful. bd7, f4, the idea of playing knight e5, interesting stuff. I didn't see any of this. So I said to myself, I think I'm going to play I'm going to play knight a4, dubious. but nevertheless, it is a move. The problem with knight a4, I want to go back to c3. I may want to play b4 as well. The problem is putting a knight on the rim like this is, it's like being on the sideline, right? Taking a player off the field and leaving it on the sideline and not calling them back on the field. And that's kind of why knight a4 is a suspect move. Game is still equal, just a dubious move. Okay, now he starts getting into, he should probably play e5 here, but he plays bishop b7. The bishop is on a really bad square, on bad diagonal rather. He's just trying to get it off the back rank and protect things and make room for rook c8, which is reasonable. Okay, so now I start expanding. b4. And again, I think knight c3 is better, right? It makes more sense. Maybe like knight c3, getting into the game, maybe knight e2. Like for example, knight c3, here, knight b5, you know, there's all these different moves that are hard to play, but the game is just equal if I do this. It's not very clear what's going on. And frankly, he has the bishop pair, so I think, although the computer says equal, I like black here. It's just my opinion, but it is what it is. Okay, so I expand with b4, keeping things balanced. He plays e5, again, a good move. The only move, really, to keep the initiative, I think. So e5, game is equal. And now things start getting ugly. And I start to worry about his long squared, his light squared bishop on the long diagonal. Although it's really not real, right? Yes, he's going to open his light squared bishop to the long diagonal, but I have a light squared bishop too. So it's not really anything to be worried about. So I just take. It's the right move. He takes. Now, I should just take here, but I don't. I play what I thought was a good move at the time. I was very proud of this move. And after the game, my opponent said it was a good move too. Nope, we're both wrong. The move I played here is knight to d4. And the thinking is, well, I'm now putting a knight in front of all this, blocking the diagonal, and he can't play e5 anymore. So this is probably good. Unfortunately, it's actually better for black here. He can, and it's not obvious how he should play here, right? But he can just play a move like, and I know this is very deep here, he could play a move like rook fe8, putting pressure on me right away. I have to go to b3 is one idea, but the game I think is just about equal. The other way, which is actually Stockfish's top move, is that odd-looking king h8. I don't know what that does. I'm guessing it gets out of the check possibilities. I don't know. I'd have to play, you know, maybe queen d2, and apparently black is just better here. He has moves like knight g4, and his rooks are more powerful than mine, and again, it's a little advantage, but anyway, long story short, knight d4 is a question mark move. Okay, so let's keep going here. So next, after that, he plays the correct rook fe8. I think that's a good move. Now the computer likes rook de8. Apparently there's a difference there, but I don't see what it is, and the game is still equal pretty much. So then I said to myself, okay, let's get out of here. Queen b3. Good move, right? Kind of keeping an eye on the king, putting indirect pressure on the pawn, you know, through these pieces. It's just a decent square. And now my opponent makes the first really bad move of the game. The right move he should play here is just king h8. Waiting move, get out of the pen, and continue the game. But he gets a little carried away. He doesn't like his bishop being on b7, even though it's perfectly fine where it is. So he plays bishop a6. And that's a double question mark. Bad move. And now I am winning. But the point is, well, I see that. No, I don't. The winning move right here is knight to c6, which is, again, very hard to find, right? If he takes it, it's very complicated. He has to play bishop c4, rook takes c4, he takes c4. There's all these exchanges that has to happen, and I come out ahead of the game. I couldn't see that. I couldn't understand how all this works, but if you put it on the computer, you'll see the same thing. I didn't see it, so I played a little more human move, which is b5, which is kind of question mark. It's not strong. I'm still winning or better, but not as clear as it was before. So then he plays back to b7. And now I understand and see the sequence of knight c6, which is very strong because there's a pawn behind it, right? And after a lot of thinking, he takes the knight. I take back. He now plays king h8, getting away from the pin. And I play rook takes d5. Remember, he can't. It's very hard for him to capture that c6 pawn. It's protected in many ways. So rook takes c6. I'm sorry, rook takes d5. Queen c7. I capture the rook because again I have a really good position here. Rook takes back, and now I played a good move here, which I'm kind of proud of. Instead of just trying to force matters, I just quietly infiltrate the position here. Just queen e6. Again, just keeping an eye on things, watching this pawn. Seeing it's protected many times. At some point I'm going to get this errant knight back in the game, but just calm infiltration. Well, he starts going really astray here. He actually plays the right move here, knight f7, to try and get a handle on the position here. But now I'm just expanding and I'm start going to create chaos. I don't want him to play knight g5, which is what I'm trying to stop here, right? To get him in the game. No point. So then he plays knight d6. And now I'm finally getting my knight back. So knight c3. And the idea is I want to put pressure, right? I want to play like a knight d5, hitting the queen. He's in trouble. He's in a lot of trouble here. So he tries rook e8. And I just get out of the way. Queen g4. I could play knight b5, but it's too complicated to deal with that. Yeah, so then he plays queen c8, offering a trade, which I say, sure. Queen takes c8, which is actually a question mark, a dubious move. The right move is just queen d1 to avoid capturing, but look, I know I have a passed pawn here. There's no reason to complicate matters. This is trade. And then I say to myself, let's just play a4, and I'm going to try and play maybe knight b5 to try and connect the passed pawns. So then he plays bishop d4. Stockfish says to capture the knight because I have this very strong move, knight b5, and he has to take it. If he doesn't, I'm going to win the a pawn. So he takes it, takes. Now I got a protected pawn, so mucho trouble here. He plays bishop e5, and his intention here is just to try and hold the pawns as best as he can, but it's just too much. I play rook d1 to grab the file. He plays he plays bishop back to b8, and just kind of curling up in a porcupine shell, right? Putting out his quills and seeing if he can defend, which is reasonable. But now I have this also very strong move, bishop h3. I'm on this massive diagonal, and he can't really do very much. So he plays rook f8, I mean as good a square as any, and then I infiltrate with rook d7. And now I'm going to play c7, and my bishop is on the queening square. I'm going to play even rook d8. It's over. And he resigned. So again, 2 wins in a row. I beat a 2200, now a 1600. Although, in my opinion, this person played, I would say, as strong as an 1800. That's just my opinion. I mean, he did make a blunder, but I mean, we all make blunders. So the moral of the story here is don't ever anticipate your opponent to be weaker than you. And I think up until the very end, he played a very good game. So kudos to him. I'm 2-0. On to round 3. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment if you want. I'm curious to know your perspective on this game. If you've played similar games, let's start a chat. I'm happy to engage in that. Thank you again. I'll see you next time.